On my previous video, I got a comment asking why I still use the original Sony A7C when the A7CR is better in pretty much every single way, except for low light performance. And even then, that's still debatable. And that comment made me kind of sad, because it makes me worry about the current state of photography, filmmaking, YouTube. I fear that constantly being pushed on the latest and the greatest cameras has conditioned people to think that they have to have the latest and the greatest cameras. Almost like I should feel some kind of guilt that I'm using my original Sony A7C when I have a perfectly good A7CR sitting right over here on my desk. When in reality, this camera is more than capable of doing anything I could ever need a camera to do. I can take the exact same photo with both of these cameras, and nobody would be able to tell a difference, especially if I'm just posting it on YouTube or Instagram. So while that viewer was not technically wrong in his comment, there's a whole lot more to cameras than just the specs. The original A7C is almost 5 years old at this point, which is hard to imagine because it feels like I've had this camera forever, but I've only had it for 5 years, which means I've only had it for roughly half of my photography journey. Now, I've taken some of the best photos of my career with this camera, and it's been by my side on so many unforgettable trips. It's taken a beating, and it's got the battle scars to prove it. I've developed a bit of a sentimental attachment to this camera, mainly because it helped launch my YouTube career, and it reinvigorated that spark and that drive for taking photos. And that's the answer. And while the A7CR has technically replaced it as my favorite camera, I know if something happened to this, I could just pick up the A7C and I'll be exactly where I was. Now, the A7CR cost twice as much as this camera new, and close to 3 times as much as this camera used. So naturally, I'm gonna baby this camera a little bit more because I spent a lot more money on it. Which means, depending on the situation, I may feel a little bit more inclined to just take this camera with me anywhere I go. I'm not worried about this camera accidentally bumping or banging into something. I'm surprised it doesn't already have more dents and scratches on it than it already does, but I know that this camera can take a beating. And that's what makes this the perfect everyday carry camera for me, because I don't have to worry as much about it. The camera world has been kind of interesting recently. There's a lot of new and exciting cameras coming out. Some are pushing the boundaries, other brands have stagnated just a little bit, and some are making cameras that are just simply fun to use. But in reality, all of these cameras are supposed to be fun, not just the weird and the quirky ones. I think cameras are toys as much as one would consider them tools. Any camera that is fun using is worth picking up and taking photos with, and it's not just about whether it has a 61 megapixel sensor versus a 24 megapixel sensor, or the viewfinder is slightly better on this camera than it is on that camera. I would much rather have my A7C with me than no camera at all, because I didn't want to bring my A7CR because it's a $3,000 camera and I don't want to have to constantly know where it is and be watching and making sure that no one's stealing it, then drive past something with no camera and think, dang, I really wish I had my camera with me. So that means if I just have my phone with me, then that's my camera for the day, which especially makes the argument kind of weird. Why would I ever use my phone camera when I have a Sony A7CR at home? If you guys see what I'm saying. And despite having a superior camera, I've never once considered selling this one. Now, I'm sure everyone's heard a photographer say this at some point, and that's that the camera body does not matter, it's the lens that actually makes the photo. And while that statement is technically true, I think the camera body is what actually becomes an extension of yourself. Just like our actual flesh human bodies, our camera bodies have scars that tell stories. The biggest regret I have in my 10 years as a photographer is selling my first camera because I didn't technically need it anymore, and I don't plan on making that mistake again. So thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe to help support the channel, and I hope I could inspire you guys to get out and take more photos, no matter what the camera is. Go out and shoot.